All right, kids. The People Under the Stairs is a 1991 American comedy horror film written and directed by Wes Craven, who also gave us The Hills Have Eyes, Swamp Thing, Nightmare on Elm Street, and Scream. One critic called The People Under the Stairs a satire of late capitalism, specifically in a Los Angeles run ragged by the free market of the 80s and the violence it created. Wes Craven later refers to the film's plot as an extraordinary, real situation involving an awful family that shouldn't exist, but unfortunately often does. We will get back to how real it gets later. Craven also said that the home that houses said stairs represented the whole society of the United States, which is interesting because he chose Brandon Adams to star as Poindexter Fool Williams in his movie. Now, millennials may know Adams from Moonwalker, The Mighty Ducks, and Sandlot. And in that day and age, it wasn't too common for a black man to be the protagonist, let alone a black child in an R-rated horror film that, and spoiler warning for a movie that's almost 35 years old, the black guy doesn't die in the end. With that said, watch this movie and review it with us, me and your mama, Mrs. Wiggins' voice, and the popcorn that she has to eat when she's watching something. As you're about to see, The People Under the Stairs turns a certain famous Christmas caper comedy movie that came out the year before on its head in this satire, a cartoonish parody of conservatism. Subtle. See if you can spot it.
Burn in hell. May they burn in hell.
Burn in hell.
Burn in hell. Burn in hell for getting free, and burn in hell for showing the way.
Burn in hell.
Burn in hell.
Let's get started. On his 13th birthday, Poindexter Williams is on the receiving end of a tarot card reading by Ruby, his older sister, played by Kelly Jo Minter. Ruby deals the Fool card and reminds him that this is how he got his nickname, Fool. Fool and Ruby, along with their mother, a single parent I think, live in a project building in Los Angeles. One night, their mother begins to cry. Leroy, Ruby's friend, tells Fool that his family is being evicted from their apartment and is forced to leave by midnight the next day by their landlords.
That's Ving Rhames.
I don't know what that means.
He's got the meats.
The meats? Like you've seen his... What is his meats?
No, he's the Arby's guy.
Oh.
He's the voice.
Oh.
You can't hear it?
Y'all been evicted. You gotta be out tomorrow midnight.
Barely.
It doesn't take long for Fool to realize that whoever these landlords are, they don't have any regard for Ruby's kids, his mother's cancer diagnosis, her inability to pay for her own treatment, or their 3 days late, pay triple the price or get out policy. We then meet the landlords, who happen to be talking about the project building that they own. This pair, who call each other mommy and daddy, make it clear why they're really kicking Fool and his family out.
One last family in the Lenox Avenue building, then it's clear to tear down. We build a nice, neat condominium. We get clean people in there.
Clean people. Wes Craven chose Wendy Roby and Everett McGill to play the part of the Robesons after seeing them play husband and wife on the TV series Twin Peaks.
What happens to the people when you make them leave their home?
I don't believe I was speaking to you. Speak when spoken to, that's what good girls do.
The Robesons have a daughter named Alice, AJ Langer from My So-Called Life and Baywatch. Langer was born in Columbus, put that on there. She was royalty, a countess, until a divorce earlier this year.
Black people.
Yes. And this is LA, probably. Possibly? I think it's LA.
This is LA. Like that kind?
Sure.
Well, no, like Sheryl Crow's LA. I don't think so. I don't see Sheryl Crow anymore.
Anyways, Leroy learns that the Robesons own the project building and he has their address. It's rumored that there are gold coins in that house. He recruits/uses Fool in a plan to break in and rob the place. Not to help the boy, but to help himself. Leroy does not care about him. Fool, who wants to be a doctor one day but can't foresee how he would ever pay for medical school, which was harshly mentioned by Leroy, also doesn't have any money to kick in, but Leroy says that he knows a way for them to earn some. It's here where I want to point out the character of Leroy serves as a precautionary tale for Fool, who he could turn out to be if he takes the wrong steps and doesn't have the right companions or doesn't do the right thing. diametrically opposed to another character that we meet towards the end of the movie. Fool, Leroy, and his accomplice Spencer jump in a van and head to the Robeson residence. Fool, dressed as a Boy Scout selling cookies for cerebral palsy, knocks on the door and is turned down by Mommy. He even tries the old "can I use your bathroom" trick. Don't fall for it in real life. While on the premises, he notices that there are metal screens and locks on the outside of the windows and sees Alice upstairs. After Fool fails, Mommy allows Spencer, dressed as a municipal worker, into her home. With recent robberies in the neighborhood, she doesn't trust him. Meanwhile, Leroy doesn't trust Spencer either. Thinking Spencer might be up to slithery snake behavior with them coins, Leroy, with Fool, break into the house after watching Mommy and Daddy drive away. Once inside, Leroy and Fool realize that the Robesons own a funeral home. Leroy is then attacked by the family dog, Prince. Fool then finds a way to attract, then trick Prince until he and Leroy can get to safety. This is like the second scene where you can see how brave, smart, and cunning Fool is. Earlier in the movie, he stands up for his sister and kicks Leroy in the shin.
But you ain't got no money, and you ain't gonna have no money unless you little snot.
Why would the meat man say that, Jeff?
Why would the meat? Okay, we're not gonna call him Meat Man. He's either Leroy, which is the character's name, or Ving Rhames.
Bill Rames?
Ving Rhames. And why would he say what?
Why would he tell that child that? How's that helping him?
Still in the house and Spencer nowhere to be found, Fool spots a figurine that reads, "See no evil, hear no evil, speak no evil." It's the operating motto for the Robeson family and the household. After that, Leroy and Fool split up because, again, Leroy doesn't give a damn about Fool whatsoever. Fool goes to the basement and finds Spencer's stuff. Fool hears footage from the first Gulf War on a TV facing the cellar, I guess white people would call it, running away from what appears to be people under the stairs. Fool trips over the body of Spencer, who is as white as Caucasian Christmas, which is just Christmas. Yet, there's a gold coin in Spencer's rigor mortis right hand. The rumors must be true. Then, the people under the stairs pull Spencer's body by his left hand and evidently try to eat it. Next thing you know, one of the cellar dwellers jumps on Fool's back. He tries to run up the stairs, but Fool is then able to escape after Alice opens the basement door for him. Wes Craven did a better job of setting this up than I am. 16 minutes prior, there was a scene where Mommy and Daddy were looking for a missing fork in Alice's room and a mysterious hand from behind the wall returns it.
Hi.
And before I continue, you see it, right? Mommy and Daddy Robeson are Nancy and Ronald Reagan. And I'm not just saying this because Reagan ruined everything. Critics saw the Robesons as camouflaged nightmare versions of Ronald and Nancy Reagan. Also,
it's a Reaganomic film because they look like Reagan and Nancy. They look like Reagan and Nancy as the killers, and they have got all the working class people oppressed in the basement. And I thought that was a fabulous review, and I like the picture more because of that.
And to think that I didn't review it on the basis of the drywall construction, isn't that amazing? I missed that whole political element there.
Others compared the Robesons to Donald Sterling and Donald Trump. Moving on. Fool finds Leroy upstairs and tells him that Spencer is dead and the Robesons are back. The Robesons see the van parked in the driveway and know something is up. Fool and Leroy try to find a way out of the house. Fool gets shocked by a door handle. The Robesons sick Prince on the intruders until they themselves can get through a door that Leroy previously jammed. Leroy uses Fool as bait, but when the dog gets to them, it goes after Meat Man. Fool saves Leroy a second time, showing off his brilliance. As Daddy, I hate this. I'm pretty sure his name is Eldon. Eldon Robeson. And turns off all the lights and shuts all the doors in the joint using a switch. Fool and Leroy find hiding spaces in the house. There was truly only one in the hallway, and would you have guessed that Leroy kept it for himself? The same person thing that jumped on Fool's back in the basement reaches for Leroy. Leroy leaves his hiding space, gets into the path of Eldon, who pulls out his gat and lays that buster down. Early 90s, baby. However, with his last breath, he screams, I never said every black man makes it until the end. Eldon assumes Leroy was calling him a fool. Fool is then lured away behind the walls of the home by a doll and a candle. It was Alice literally pulling the strings. The two of them officially meet and talk in the bathroom of a part of the house that's hidden off and never used. Alex explains that the people under the stairs were and are children, big air quotes, of the Robesons, but committed the sins of seeing, hearing, and or speaking evil, which she does not do. Therefore, she gets to keep her life and limbs unlike the others. So, the children have resorted to cannibalism to survive. At that moment, Eldon comes out with his shotgun and in what my wife deemed to be a gimp suit.
I wasn't allowed to watch like Disney, like live action stuff because they were always rude to their parents.
Interesting.
But I also didn't have cable. That's also a thing.
Ugh. Alice tries to get Fool to escape behind the walls. He says he wants out of the house, not in the walls. She drops this gem.
Sometimes Ian is out.
Eldon Gimperson comes close to finding Fool until Mommy alerts him to the police being outside. She feeds Prince Spencer's hand, by the way. Now, I'm going to try to show you as much of the next scene as possible without this video getting demonetized or me having to share revenue with Universal. And if you're anything like me, you've seen how this plays out in real life.
Hello. What can I do for you, gentlemen?
Good afternoon, ma'am. Is this your van?
Well, as a matter of fact, we did see a couple of men, one black, one white, walking away as we approached.
We'll check the house.
Just checked it, even looked under the beds. Clean as a whistle.
You get a lot of this sort of thing?
It's as if we're the prisoners and the criminals roam free.
I know what you mean. Well, you're lucky you're all right. This van was used in a liquor store robbery last night.
Oh, goodness.
Liquor store?
I'd advise you to stay inside, keep your doors locked for a while.
You can count on it.
Mother. The pair discovers Fool's Boy Scout costume from before in the van and figures that he's still in the house. Prince the dog chases him again and he gets away again. And at around the 46-minute mark into the movie, the protagonist and antagonist lay eyes on each other for the first time. And Fool Home Alone's Eldon. The boy then comes to Fool's rescue, and while they're in the walls, Eldon sends Prince in to get them. From there, Prince gets, I'm gonna say, Kevin McAllistered. The boy then takes Fool to Alice's bedroom. She reveals that his name is Roach. His tongue was removed as punishment for calling out for help. He lives in the walls. The Robesons know it, but can't do much about it because Eldon is too big to get back there. As for the dolls, one of which Fool keeps with him because it is him, Alice says that she made one for each of the people who had been killed by Mommy and Daddy. But then the Robesons bust into the bedroom. Eldon takes a shot at Roach. Mommy grabs Alice and Daddy catches Fool. The next few minutes make up an absurd amount of cruelty, including Mommy making Alice slip in the bloodstain of Leroy, forcing her to clean it in a white dress, then getting mad that there's blood on that dress, then putting Alice in a scalding hot bath. In front of Fool, Eldon eats Leroy while feeding him to the people under the stairs. Remember them ribs that he was eating towards the beginning of the movie? Yeah, that must have been a human's that he shot, which explains why there was a buckshot in them. Eldon proceeds to dump Leroy's carcass.
I feel like that wasted a lot of meat.
Throws Fool to what is assumed to be cannibals.
I could have killed him. Now let the people under the stairs do it.
He said the thing. Hoo-hoo. However, they're more curious about Fool than anything else. Must not see brothers too often. Then Leroy's body comes out of where he was dumped. It's Roach to the rescue. Fool and Roach get into the furnace in order to avoid Prince. Roach gives Fool some coins and tells him to save Alice before succumbing to bullet wounds. Roach dies a hero. Fool makes his way up and through the vents just in time to stop Eldon from abusing Alice. Fool Old Man Marley's him.
Oh no, penis.
Then takes Alice in the vents. Eldon sets a fire in the furnace, intentionally burning Roach's dead body, condemning him to hell, and smoking Fool and Alice out of the vents. The two of them begin to run in between the walls. Eldon sends Prince in after them and accidentally stabs the dog to death, thinking he got Fool. That's when Daddy drops this banger.
Oh, I got him! 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 I got him!
I used to sing this song as a kid.
Why were you a child knowing the song? So, like, how old?
9, 10.
Jeffrey. Why?
What do you mean why? That was a bop.
It's not a bop.
What?
Burning Hell is a bop, though. Burning Hell!
Fool and Alice make their way to the attic. Alice tells him that there's a pond beneath where they're standing. The same one that he was throwing rocks in when he was trying to get into the house the first time. Fool tries to convince Alice to jump to safety with him. She refuses. Eldon shows up with the gun, takes some shots at Fool as Alice fights him off. Fool takes a leap of faith similar to the one he discussed with Ruby during his tarot card reading. Lands in the pond okay. And real quick, when Eldon goes to ground level to try and shoot Fool from there, Mommy tells him not to shoot his gun outside. All that debauchery that goes on inside of the house, and the line isn't morals or decency, is whether it will attract police to their behavior. Keep in mind, they're the ones calling their neighbors unclean. Fool makes it home with the gold coins, and his grandfather, Coleman, appraises the coins and says that he has enough gold to pay rent until the year 2000 and his mother's cancer treatment. Then drops the line that I thought would get a bigger reaction from my wife.
That brother-sister act you messed with are evil, plain and simple.
Wait a minute, brother and sister?
Brother and sister.
They're brother and sister?
Boy, yoing.
Against his better judgment and an additional yet negative tarot card reading from Ruby, Fool sets out to get Alice as he promised, to right wrongs and free the captives. He calls the police and reports child abuse ahead of time. The Robeson siblings, literally and figuratively, wines and dines them away. They make it known that while exchanging pleasantries with the police, someone could have snuck in or out of the back door, but call it a night after 5-0 leaves. Fool, sneaking in and grabbing a fire poker, heads upstairs where he thinks the Robesons are praying before bed. In reality, it's a tape recording. They set a trap. The Robesons try to nab Fool. He fights them off again, goes up the chimney to find Alice in the attic, chained to the brick wall. Fool frees her, tells her that her parents aren't her parents, she takes that pretty well, convinces her to jump out of the same window he used to escape earlier, but Alice says that the pond was drained after he left. There's also dynamite in the walls and vents now. So Fool and Alice go down the chimney, wet banditing the brother and sister in the process.
Bombs away.
Got home alone.
He got home alone real good.
Fool goes to rescue the people under the stairs. Alice confronts her non-mother. Alice stomped on that hoe's foot, but inflicted more damage by telling her this.
Go to hell!
Mommy called Alice a Jezebel for merely being in her room with the boys, and she's having Daddy, her brother, put her to bed. Alice gets away by going up the kitchen stove vent, which is a thing. Fool and Eldon get into fisticuffs once more in the basement. Mommy has to answer the door 2 separate times. Once for Ruby and a second time for Grandpa Coleman.
Not only are you bad landlords, but 10 times worse. You stolen the tooling from our community for your own sick needs.
There's no community here. All I see are a couple of...
Mommy was about to shoot Ruby and Coleman until a rainbow coalition of the whole hood pulled up. Then Alice broke through the ceiling and smashed her head on the floor. Eldon was about to shoot Fool, had him dead to rights until the cellar dwellers distracted him, putting the flashlights that he inexplicably gave them on him. temporarily blinding the bastard. The people under the stairs grab Fool seemingly to hold him for Eldon, but really, it was a way to get him to shoot and miss and hit the lock, opening the door for them to help Fool. Fool has a heart-to-heart with the lead stair basement-er, devises a plan, then that guy shows Fool the Scrooge McDuck amount of money in the back. Alice and Coleman ensure that Eldon stays in the basement, can't seem to locate mommy, and hold on. I spotted AJ Langer breaking character.
Where'd that crazy heifer go?
One more. That time when Fool beat the Robesons down with that fire poker, it broke, and it seems like Brandon Adams looks at the production crew but continues to do his thing.
That's an experienced actor, baby.
Mighty Ducks.
Getting back to it, mommy takes her aim at Alice, goes in to stab her with a knife. That's when the people under the stairs appear above the stairs and also through the stairs, bitch. Alice knifes mommy, and then the people overcoming the stairs take her out and throws her down the steps. Fool tricks Eldon into thinking that he's counting them coins. He points out that it's weird and dumb for him to have dynamite down there with his riches.
I'm tired of fucking around, so either put the gun down now or kiss your ass goodbye, boy.
The explosion shoots money out of the chimney. Cash is flowing from the window to the walls. The Robesons, a long line of disturbed inbred family members who ran a funeral home selling cheap coffins for expensive prices before entering the real estate business, leading them to become greedier and more unhinged, is giving money back to the community, its rightful owners. The people overcoming the stairs, tasting freedom for the first time in a long time, make a break for it, probably trying to get at Ruby. I mean, come on. As most fittingly, Do the Right Thing by Redhead Kingpin plays non-diegetically. The end. That's The People Under the Stairs. I'm still a little upset about how the hood is depicted in movies like this, but mommy never being the purity that she expected out of Alice, and daddy being the monster that the people under the stairs never were, are good touches. Admittedly, I avoided most of the depictions of child abuse, sexual in particular. Just know that they are there. I got to thinking about cult classics when I made my video about cults last month, and when this local story made national news in June.
Tonight, the disturbing discovery inside this Ohio home. 16 children rescued from deplorable conditions. Authorities saying they had been held in a 12 by 12 foot area for much of the past 4 years. The youngest just 18 months old. The children's mother, father, grandmother, and grandfather placed under arrest, arraigned today on 16 charges of child endangerment, all pleading not guilty.
Most of our livestock was kept in better conditions than the children.
According to Wes Craven, he was inspired to come up with the plot for Stairs when he saw headlines about two burglars who broke into a seemingly normal Los Angeles home in the late 1970s and inadvertently allowed the police to discover children locked away by their parents. The black guy, in this case, a black kid, makes it until the end. There's also the final girl trope mixed in, if you catch my drift. This movie came out when I was young, and I was in elementary school when I first saw it. And of course, the themes on capitalism, class warfare, and gentrification flew way over my head at that time. Speaking of gentrification, the 3-story Craftsman-style mansion in the West Adams district of Los Angeles was never used during the interior shots for the movie. Plus, the West Adams neighborhood in real life was a space for LA's emerging black middle and upper class. The People Under the Stairs house was properly known as the Thomas W. Phillips residence, yet actor Butterfly McQueen was living there when white homeowners tried to push the black population out of West Adams by demanding the enforcement of racially restrictive property ownership covenants in 1945. McQueen's neighbor and Oscar-winning co-star Hattie McDaniel led the coalition that fought them in court and won. That home is a protected historical site. I'd rather see that place than the Home Alone house any day. And if you want to see Brandon Adams act, he's still at it. And sadly, we lost Wes Craven years ago. Before he died, Craven said that he wanted to remake Stairs, and Jordan Peele signed on to do a remake a few years ago, but nothing has come of it as of yet. If you want to see more content like this from me, and especially Mrs. Wiggins, let us know. Until then, have a good week, and I hope you feel like this.
I feel like $1 million.
We gonna be all right.